Hello. In today's video, I want to show you how stress is likely contributing to almost any health condition that you're currently struggling with. My name's Dr. Joe from the Southside Health and Wellness Campus, and our mission is to help you to cut through all the healthcare noise. Now, stress is something that everybody has heard of, and most everybody would agree that they have larger amounts of it than they would like. But the overwhelming majority of people do not truly understand stress and how it is causing damage to their body. My goal today is to help you to simplify an understanding of stress so that you can take some immediate actions to improve the quality of your health, or to share this with somebody that you care about. So, the primary symptoms of stress are headaches, fatigue, pain and tension in the neck, shoulders, low back, or really any area of the body. Irritability, sleep problems, whether falling asleep or staying asleep, allergies and sinus problems, and digestive trouble. Now, if you experience any of these symptoms, it's very likely that stress is starting to cause your body to break down in an unhealthy way. Now, to truly understand stress, I believe it's very important to understand hormones. Now, this will not be an exhaustive description of hormones and how they work in the body, but a basic understanding will help you immediately take action towards improving the quality of life that you have by reducing stress. If you want additional information about hormones, please check out the link below for our Understanding Hormones and Balancing Them Naturally. So, chemical messengers that control and coordinate activities throughout the body. So chemicals are released, the brain basically talks to some part of the body, a hormone is produced, a chemical is released into the body that communicates at a distance to cause certain sensations in our body and certain feelings, such as hunger, thirst, digestion, muscle and bone growth development, tissue breakdown. Yes, the body does need to break down tissue as well as build it up. Fat storage, not a very popular one for most people. Menstruation, digestion, sexual desire, and countless others. There are hundreds of functions that occur in the body as a result of hormones. There's two primary types we want to talk about here. They are anabolic hormones, which are building up hormones, or catabolic, which are breaking down. Now, to understand, both of these are good, and in excess, both of these can be bad. But when kept in balance, then that basically keeps a person feeling good. If we feel like we're building up, we're going to the gym, we want to add some muscle tissue from our workouts, we're building up. And if our body's trying to lose weight, then we're trying to break down those fat reserves as an energy source. So both are very important. But out of balance, obviously, that could be an issue. So let's talk about the anabolic type of hormones first. Insulin is one that everybody's heard of, and what its purpose is to get excess glucose out of the blood to be used as an energy source immediately, or to be stored as glycogen for more immediate reserve use, such as in the morning when you wake up after sleeping 6 or 8 hours, you have enough energy to get out of bed, go through the start of your day, and then get something to eat. For more of an extended fast, basically the insulin is putting glucose into the fat reserves in the body, and at that extended period of time of fasting, then the body would dip into it. But insulin is storing the fat, and glucagon, as we'll talk about in a moment, is doing the opposite and taking that fat and basically breaking it down as an energy source. Now you have growth hormone, that is the hormone of youth. It's important in the development of young children to adults and becoming skeletally mature. Muscle development and so many other important functions are the result of growth hormone. We want to preserve that as much as possible. Estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, those are all sex hormones. All are very important in the body. Estrogen and progesterone are more dominant in women and very important in lean muscle tissue. Progesterone in women having a normal menstrual cycle, and also to be able to become pregnant and maintain a pregnancy. A very important hormone to keep well balanced for a woman to have a healthy cycle. And testosterone, men and women have this, and it helps to keep a lean muscle body type as well as a whole slew of other healthy functions. Glucagon, as I said, is the opposite of insulin. So when you have not eaten for a period of time, your blood sugar has lowered, there's not enough glucose to feed you, your body will dip into glycogen, which is stored in the liver or in the muscle tissue. And when that's pretty much depleted, maybe it's been a longer period of time, your body will then dip into using a fat as an energy source. And often that's a very important thing to try to encourage, and that's where intermittent fasting and things like the ketogenic diet are very helpful in a person losing weight. And glucagon is a very important hormone in that function. Thyroid hormones, your thyroid is your master metabolism organ. It produces T4, T3, and the liver helps to metabolize that T4 and convert it into T3. So thyroid function really requires a healthy liver, as well as many other hormones in the body do, but that's a very important hormone for metabolism. And then cortisol, very important hormone to understand. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about that. So as you read here, you're going to see a lot of things that don't sound exactly very positive. Cortisol is the hormone of stress, one of them, but the primary hormone we think of when we talk about stress, especially chronic stress. Now, if you think about these things, each of them could be helpful in some cases when a person is in a situation of danger. They may not want to sleep. They may have to have this feeling of anxiety, be aware of their surroundings. But when we have a chronic source of stress in our life that's never going away, eventually it causes the body to break down. So let's go through these real quick. So it controls the amount of oxygen each cell uses, causes belly fat to be deposited, which is basically ultimately a storage area for energy for later on, breaks down muscle tissue. Your body will, when it does not have sufficient food or when it feels stressed, it will break down its own muscle tissue as an energy source. Causes anxiety, obviously being alert of your surroundings. Causes carbohydrate cravings, increased blood pressure, blood sugar, raises triglycerides and cholesterol. So it can play havoc on a blood panel if somebody gets their blood work taken. Suppresses the immune system. Causes insomnia. Suppresses libido, menstrual irregularity, thins the bones, often trying to pull calcium and other minerals out of the bones to be used immediately for purposes of day-to-day activity. And lowers leptin levels, which is the hormone that tells you you're full. So often when people think that they should be full, but they keep on having cravings or eating, it's often because cortisol is telling their body to keep eating. It's looking for that storage of fat because it feels like it's in a danger or stressful situation and it wants reserves for later. So this is a term, Pregnenolone Steal, which I feel that every healthcare professional has learned in their education, but most of them have forgotten this. And if they haven't forgotten it, they have forgotten how to apply it to their patients and those that they're taking care of. It's a very important topic, and by understanding this, it will give you an understanding of how to cope with stress in so much of a different way than you have before. So what is it? How does it affect me? Great questions to ask. Let's find out what that is. Little small print here, but hopefully you can see this, a little bit of a complicated series of things going on, but ultimately in the top left corner we have cholesterol. Cholesterol is very important and must be consumed in the body through diet as well as produced by the body as well, because it needs to be the precursor for many of the hormones that our body utilizes. So cholesterol turns into pregnenolone, as we spoke of a moment ago. It then converts down into progesterone if it continues down this pathway. If it follows this path here, after a few steps, it will turn into testosterone, very important hormone as we spoke of, and then eventually into estrogen. So progesterone, testosterone, and estrogen all require pregnenolone to properly have a good balance of those hormones. Now, when we have chronic stress and our body is producing cortisol like we just spoke about, ultimately is stealing a lot of this precursor ingredient to produce cortisol. And when that occurs, the pregnenolone is being stolen to make cortisol instead of progesterone, testosterone, and estrogen. And when that occurs, a person starts to feel awful because their hormones are everything in terms of making them feel at ease and to continue to feel like their body is improving versus declining or aging. And ultimately, that's our goal today, is to help you to have a better understanding of hormones and stress response in the body and to take immediate action on that. So ultimately, what I want you to understand is looking at stress as a three-tiered entity. Stress has 3 points. There's emotional stresses, which is what we typically think of, physical stressors, and chemical stressors. They're all very important. And ultimately, we have a certain amount of each of these that occurs in our body each and every day. Now, think about a bucket of water, or an empty bucket to begin with. And if you start to put water into this, it can handle a pretty fair amount of it, drip by drip, large amounts at a time. Also, and eventually when it gets to the top, that will spill over. And it's very similar to stress in our body. When there's small amounts of it going in initially, it's not that big a deal. But when it's getting higher and higher and this accumulation of stress occurs, eventually that starts to spill over. So when that's right at the top, full of stress, and eventually one little thing happens, someone says some small thing to you, or maybe you get cut off in traffic, or you eat a little bit of the wrong type of food, or you don't have the best night's sleep, all of a sudden you feel awful because the stress response is just so overwhelmed to begin with, it can't handle that little stressor to begin with. So let's look at it this way. Emotional stress is what everyone thinks of: relationships, work, finances, illness, and things like that. And many of those are difficult for people to be able to change. They sometimes can't easily change their financial situation, or if somebody's sick, it's something that they're dealing with and their body can start to break down a little bit as a result of that. But what I would really like to focus on are these two corners of the triangle, the physical and chemical stressors. Because ultimately, if you can reduce those two portions of stress in your body, you will have dramatic reductions in the total accumulative stress in your body, and you can feel significantly better immediately. So let's look at physical stress for a moment. So that would be pain, injuries, tension, and posture. Now, some people can't seem to avoid, obviously pain that they've had for 30 or 40 years or injuries that they've sustained, but they can take immediate action with their posture. Now, I see people every day that are in a very slouched position, very, very forward, and this amount of stress on your spine and on your muscles and creating tension in your neck is very significant. So when your body feels this for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, that becomes a stressful contributor, thus filling up the bucket of stress in your body. So minimally having posture improvements are super important. It also, by doing so, helps a person to improve their ability to breathe and oxygenate their body, which has other improvements as well. So I believe that just improving your posture and helping to address the tension in your body are significant ways to help reduce your stress level. Pain, many people struggle with pain and they think they just have to deal with that, or maybe they take over-the-counter pain medications all the time trying to cope with it, and that might help short term, but ultimately if there's a problem they're not getting addressed, that pain will continue for weeks and months and years, and eventually that can contribute to the largest amount of stress that person might have on a day-to-day basis. They may have very little emotional stress, but they feel anxiety all the time because of that chronic pain from those injuries. A great example of this is somebody coming in with migraines. Now, I've seen in my office people suffering with migraines for 20 or 30 years, and after 1 or 2 chiropractic adjustments, their migraines are completely gone. Now, by doing something that simple and that easy, just imagine the amount of stress that's reduced in that person's body for the rest of their life. So that is one of my goals. Is I think people should seek out, whether it be a chiropractor if they have impinged nerves in their body, a massage therapist, acupuncturist. Maybe they should do a little bit more stretching or yoga or other types of body work to help improve the quality of the pain and physical tension that exists in their body. Additionally, we now have chemical stress. Now, this is one that often we have a lot more say in than we would often think about. Now, our environment, maybe not always so easy. If we go outside and there's smog and pollutants and things like that, not so easy to control that. But our environment inside our house, we have a lot more control over. It's what we spray in the air, okay? It's those electronic air cleaners, which really not cleaning the air, they're just smelling the air with a chemical. So you go in, you have this fresh vanilla smell, but it's really a chemical going into your body. So something that can irritate the body that way for sure. Then you also have things that people put on their body, their lotions and their hair gel and hairspray and shampoo and conditioner and even their soap that they use, underarm deodorant. All of those, in most cases, if they're not a natural source, have a toxic effect on the body, and that can cause the body to feel stressed in so many different ways. The diet, obviously that's what we eat. So if you're eating really good, healthy, clean foods, you're putting in good nutrients. But if you're putting in a lot of processed foods and a lot of sugar and things like that, they're very irritating to the body. And in fact, that's where the inflammation in large amount in most people's lives come from. They don't realize that inflammation is as a result of the foods that we're eating. So when you eat processed foods, your body often becomes inflamed immediately, and sugar is one of the most inflammatory foods. So not eating sugar and processed foods alone will dramatically decrease inflammation in the body. And then eating green leafy vegetables and healthy fruits and vegetables like that will have significant benefits in the body as well. Now, one other thing with inflammation that I think is important to handle is when people have pain and they do have inflammation from different contributing things like old injuries flaring up from the diet that they're consuming, there are natural ways to consume like herbs that will dramatically reduce inflammation instead of some of the over-counter medications that most people rely on, because those can have long-term chronic toxic effects on the liver and kidneys and other organs. So if a person can seek out things like boswellia or turmeric or something like that, it's all over the news to try to keep that inflammation under control, and most people would agree that when things are inflamed, they hurt more. Almost any condition people struggle with, there's usually an itis at the end of the name, like arthritis. That itis means inflammation. So by controlling it, you can have significant improvements in your overall health. So those are a few things that people should really dramatically look at, immediately making changes in, trying to physical reduction in stress, chemical reduction in stress. And by doing that, interestingly, if you all of a sudden start having less of those stressors, maybe your pain will reduce. And when your pain reduces, the next time you go to bed, and most nights you're tossing and turning because that chronic hip pain or that shoulder pain, now you're going to sleep a little bit better. And when you sleep better, your emotional stress and anxiety about going to bed will not be there. And then waking up in the morning refreshed is so important because sleep is vital for healing to occur. So look at stress a little bit differently: physical, chemical, emotional. Try to handle the portions that you can. And obviously there's tons of videos out there and information on trying to cope with emotional stress better. It's not the topic of conversation for this video, but hopefully by handling the other two, it will make a reduction in that as well. So I thank you very much for watching this video to completion. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like it. And definitely share it with others, because I believe that stress, being one of the most contributing factors to all disease, upwards of 95 to 98% of all disease are attributed to stress. So people out there are struggling in ways, and if you could share this video with someone that you care about, hopefully you can make a difference in their life. And if you truly enjoyed this, please subscribe to our channel and hit that bell notification so that you get upcoming videos in the future that can make a big difference in your life as well. And please, look down in the links below for some additional videos that we've produced, understanding hormones and balancing them naturally, and backpacks for your children. A great way to help reduce tension and stress in your children's lives is to help them to understand how to load and carry a backpack, not put it on the one shoulder, making a dramatic difference in their overall health. So thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. I hope you have a blessed day.